We'll call the Tuesday, November 2nd, 2021 Williams County Board of County Commissioners meeting to order. Beth, will you please call roll?
Barry,
Here.
Corey,
Here.
Bo,
Here.
David,
Here.
We have a quorum. We will continue. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, we'll start with the consent agenda, and then immediately following the consent agenda, we're going to transition to the Saralon discussion, just so everybody's ready. What are the wishes of the board with regards to the consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Beth, roll call vote.
Barry,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes,
Bo,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
motion passes. Okay, so let's jump right in. I believe we have Nico and Ron on WebEx. And what we're here to talk about is back on October 14th, the state announced a development fund approved an initial support of $3 million for Saralon to develop a $2.88 billion facility in western North Dakota, and specifically the Marley Crossing. And this is a unique opportunity that doesn't come along very often. In fact, this will be the single largest in the state's history as a single one-time investment. So what we'd like to do is discuss a possible letter of intent for Williams County to provide $6 million of support in a loan for industrial economic development. And I'd ask that we get Karen and Lindsay up to. Lindsay, are you able to come up, or do you need to stay at the helm? Okay. And just in an effort, they've been involved since we got involved, and it would be good for them to be up to answer any questions that the board may have. And just for a little background from my own perspective of being involved with this project, I got a call from Sean Wenko a number of months ago. He was responding to a request for proposal from the state of North Dakota, and he just asked my input on potential locations. And that's the beginning of my involvement, and it should be pointed out that Sean and staff, both Sean and Brenda Barb, all did a tremendous job in putting together their request for proposal, such that it got the attention of Saralon. But yeah, so anyway, what I'd like to do is turn this over to the board for any discussion and or questions they may have regarding the project. And of course, I'm drawing blanks on everything that I was going to say in advance. So I guess let's just start with the discussion. And also, we have Nico and Ron on the WebEx so that they can provide any input and answer any questions that we may have.
You also should have a draft letter of intent in front of you too, so.
And and I need to point out that David and I met with Ron, and with David's portfolio being planning and zoning, it made a lot of sense to get involved right away. And on top of that, David had a relationship with the landowners down there, and made a lot of sense for him to do some introductions. And David, if there's anything you'd like to add, I would welcome your comments.
I'll just add, I guess, at this time, so everybody knows who Nico and Ron are. Nico is correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, but Nico is the CEO, president of Saralon, and Ron is the CEO or president of Saralon GTL. Those are the principles of this operation.
Perfect. Now, Lindsay, fill us in with everything that I missed.
So I think the intent of this morning is to present the letter of intent that Stephen and David drew up with Karen to be able to provide additional financial support to help Saralon get started sooner within the area. So Saralon would bring a gas to liquids plant to not only Williams County in North Dakota, but it would actually be the first in North America with the smallest carbon footprint in the world, actually. And so this aligns with the governor's initiative to be carbon neutral by 2030. That's why the state has invested in this. And when we say that the state has invested in this, it's actually by way of the North Dakota Development Fund, which has approved a $3 million loan for initial support. The additional $6 million, if Williams County so chooses to contribute that in the form of a no-interest loan, would help them to unlock additional funding opportunities through the state. Overall, the project is estimated to bring 1,000 temporary jobs during construction and approximately 80 permanent jobs to Williams County, as well as long-term tax benefits, economic diversification, jobs of a different sort to children and family within the area, as well as infrastructure additions and community development.
I think one thing to add on to that as well is the natural gas component, which has been a bottleneck in our history from oil and gas development. The days of flaring are gone. We've got to find ways to add value to the natural gas opportunity, if you will. And it's coming around from being a nuisance and a bottleneck to becoming an opportunity for the region. And it allows us to open up additional drilling capacity that we didn't have before. And so the exciting thing from my perspective is this, there's been a few that have said that there will be no petchem facilities in North Dakota. They need to get out of the way for the many that are maybe coming. And so this is a great opportunity.
And then with regards to a county's role for being able to provide funding for this, and Karen can probably expand, or would like to probably expand, but within Century Code, it is, counties are provided the ability to provide funding for encouraging industrial development within the county. And the dollars have to come from the general fund. And really within our financial situation, this would not come from property taxes. It would likely come from our GPT proceeds as a way for industry to be able to be put back into industry.
This is probably a question for Ron or Nico. How about just a quick little rundown on what your plant does before we jump any further? I just so if not only myself, maybe probably some other people that don't know exactly what you do.
Well, I think, thank you for that question, and I didn't get the name.
Corey Hansen, Commissioner Hansen.
Commissioner Hansen, thank you for the question. What I will do is, why don't I, I'm going to give a high-level summary, but Ron can, spend a bit more time on the details of what it does. But in essence, what it's doing is actually taking a large volume of gas. We're talking about 240 million standard cubic feet of gas per day, and converting that into, we call it liquids, but it's ultra-low sulfur diesel, potentially jet fuel, naphtha that has been used as a diluent or as, it can be added to the gasoline pool, as well as, the feedstock for lubricants. We call it base oils. And to put it in perspective, 240 million scuffs a day of gas is equal to the Oak, facility, gas processing facility, the full production, per day. And that is for phase 1. We're planning to do phase 2 as well as then petrochemical derivatives from there. Ron, I don't know if you want to add anything else on maybe the products and, the carbon capture and the nature of the products.
Sure. The diesel that we will produce is quite an exceptional diesel in the sense that it is what we call paraffinic of nature. Now, very simply, if you compare that to a conventional diesel that is produced from oil, if you look at how well it performs in terms of when it combusts, a conventional diesel would have a cetane level of about 45, whereas a GTL facility, the diesel that we produce, will have a cetane value of about 72. Now, what does that mean? If you look at gasoline, you get the octane scale, where you've got the 93 and 95 and 98. And the higher the octane level is, it's just an expression on how well it combusts and what is the relative energy output of that combustion. Now, similar to diesel, you've got a cetane scale. And as I said, it's a 45 to a 72, which just simply means that the energy output of this, when it combusts, is really, really good and high. I did mention it's paraffinic of nature, which means that it contains zero aromatics, unlike normal diesel, where if there are any spillages, normal diesel is toxic. It takes a long time to break up in the ground, biodegrade, and it's toxic in aquatic systems because it contains aromatics. And aromatics are a very stable compound, and it takes a long time to break down in nature. GTL diesel is paraffinic in nature, contains zero aromatics, which means it's biodegradable within 3 weeks. It disappears. It's non-toxic in aquatic systems. So that's a nice environmental addition to this properties of this diesel. The other product is naphtha, as Nico mentioned. It can go in as a diluent. Now, typically, Canada would need a diluent, for example, in the oil sands, where they use naphtha to dilute their more viscous oil, and it acts as a viscous agent and it dilutes. It can also go into gasoline blending to reduce sulfur levels. I just want to mention that all our products are virtually zero sulfur, and that makes it quite unique as well. That refineries really like this product because they can blend it in and reduce their own sulfur levels. And of course, your emissions is very clean because you don't have any sulfurous compounds like SOx, SO2, SO3, etc. The third, we can produce jet fuel as well as part of our product slate. Now, because, again, of the good quality, we will be engaging with the Department of Defense. There is a pipeline, the Senex pipeline, that's going to run just a couple of miles away from the site, that we intend to put our products into this pipeline. And this pipeline runs all the way past Minot, and we do consider that if we can get an agreement, we could even take some jet, put it in this pipeline, and take it all the way to that Minot Air Base, where they would do a blend with normal kerosene, and this could be quite a strategic volume supply to them as well. The final product that I just want to quickly mention is the base oils that we will produce. A base oil, essentially, if you look at the lubricant, about 90% of that lubricant consists out of a base oil. The rest are just additives that the oil companies add to it. Now, this is what we call a Group 3 base oil, which means it's synthetic. It's really high performing. Again, to give you an idea, a conventional diesel group, a conventional oil lubricant would have a viscosity index of about 100. Now, what does viscosity index mean? It means that how well does oil perform under both hot and cold climates. Ours sits at about 132. Again, much higher than the normal Group 3 base oil that you would expect. So again, a very high performance product. Finally, I just want to mention that we do intend to do carbon capture and sequestration on site. we are currently will engage to do deep well studies on the geology. We believe that the area would be well suited to accept CO2 in large quantities for very, very long, for decades to come. So we intend to do up to probably about 2 million metric tons of CO2 per annum that we will capture, and we will sequestrate that, which reduces our overall carbon footprint of the site. And to give you an example, if you look at conventional refineries, their carbon footprint, and we call it a CI score, would have about a CI score of about 100 to 110 in that order, and that's grams CO2 per megajoule. Ours, once we've done the carbon capture, would probably be in the order of about 50 grams CO2 per megajoule, which again allows us to qualify for low carbon fuel credits in states that do apply that, for example, California. So if we roll out our diesel to California, we'll qualify for those credits. And in addition to that, with the CO2 that's being captured, there are federal credits, tax credit that kicks in. And I think if you look at the latest trends, is that there's more and more push towards more carbon capture, and hence you'll see that the carbon tax credits actually goes up from the federal point of view. So that's in short the product slate that we will produce and the type of products.
Maybe, just add one little thing that, this is for the first facility. There is also the potential to use some of the nitrogen out of the oxygen plant that we will build, next to that, that you can actually either go into the production of fertilizer, but that's, something to follow past this. So, Commissioner, that's a high-level summary. Sorry, it took a bit of time, but we appreciate, your question.
Thank you.
I have a question, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
By all means.
Nico and Ron, I think it'd be important for the commission and the public, for that matter, to share a little bit of your experience on these facilities that you guys have been involved in particular. I guess the one that really intrigued me was the time and efforts that you put into the plant in Dubai.
Good. I thank you, Commissioner David, for that question. I think the team of people, and we mostly people, as you can pick up, both Ron and myself are originally from South Africa. We've got a team of people that worked for either Sasol and Shell. Those are the biggest, gas to liquids producers in the world today. The biggest facility, that is coal to liquids, but is next to that's going to gas to liquids, is in Secunda in South Africa, as well as then in Qatar in the Middle East. What David is referencing is where, the Qatar Petroleum Sasol joint venture facility is, as well as the Shell facility. And our team has been involved in the development, the operations, the support in all of these facilities in the world, the big ones. Sasolburg, Sasol 1, Sasol 2, Sasol 3, that is 168,000 barrels. Also in the Qatar QP and Sasol joint venture project, as well as the Shell project, as well as the project in Uzbekistan, as well as the facility in Escravos in Nigeria. So the team has really been involved for the last 25 years in all of these facilities and developing. So we've gone through the pains of, what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing. This week it started already, as I remembered in the Qatar Petroleum facility, that the people forgot to make all the agreements, financeable. And we paid $10 million for lawyers to change all the agreements, a lot of money. So this week it was good for me to actually go back and say to the people drafting the agreements that we want to, put in front of the landowners, to say, you know what, don't forget about the step-in rights and the financeability. And, it's a lot of money paid previously. Now bringing, expertise for us. Our intention is not just to build this and flip it. We want to build it because this is the thing that we built for ourselves and for the communities and people around us. So I think the impression that I want to leave with you, we've been involved with all of the major facilities in the world, through all the different types of stages and all of the different functions. So we bring a wealth of experience. So when we now start working on something like this, we know what went wrong, what to do, and we've captured all those lessons learned in a table, and we've built that into our plans. But thank you, Commissioner David, for the question.
One of the other interesting aspects of this is that they, in going through the process of getting funding from the North Dakota Development Fund, they had Hannah Lang do a risk assessment on the entire project. Now, we don't have access to the absolute details of that, but to the extent that it is extremely well done and verified to the positive outlook that the state has on this project as a whole. And Nico and Ron, I don't know that you can speak to much of that, but all of that to say that there is a great deal of confidence in that report. Can we speak to any of the specifics with regards to your outputs?
Yeah, what I can say, and thank you, Mr. Chair, is that what we've done in the last, 2 years is we've actually brought on board a super major partnership. Number one, to supply all the gas. Number two, to buy 100% of all our products. They need the products because they are all made public commitments. And if I talk super major, I'm talking, one of the top 5 energy companies in the world, not North America, in the world. And they've partnered with us, number one, because they need the output of the product, because they want to compete in the market, for the high performance lubricants, as well as have access to this beautiful product slate that Ron so eloquently described. But they also want the expertise of the team because they don't have that in-house. It is not, common to have that available. It is a niche. And number one, they want to leverage that. But what we have is really a perfect, deal in the sense of 100% of all our products that we would be producing, they want to buy, and they've given us a off-take agreement for that. They've also given us a supply agreement. And then on top of that, the licensing of the technology is, from a partnership of 2 of the top 5 majors in the world. So we're sitting with a setup of super majors, putting all of this together. And our role in all of this is, because we've done this, is to be the conductor of the orchestra. But that's the due diligence that we've gone through, and that's what we've agreed and supplied to the state of North Dakota. So the setup in this is being vetted, validated, and I can also state that the due diligence that we've gone through with the state is significant, but it is not as significant as the due diligence that we've gone through with the super majors. It took us 9 months, to go through those, that process. And, in doing so, I've vetted everything that we're doing, how we're doing it, what our approach is, the types of synergies. So there has been significant due diligence done on us. We don't mind that because we've done a few of these projects. This is not the first rodeo, as David has said.
Thank you. Karen, do you want to outline for the board and the public the details of the letter of intent and kind of an understanding of what the letter means?
Yep, sure. The letter of intent really basically gives them, notifies them of our intent to grant them a loan, a no-interest loan of $6 million, and then it sort of just lays out some of the major parts of the terms of the loan, just so that they have something to kind of go forward with, really. The major parts of the loan, of the letter of intent, is that the loan proceeds are only going to be used for engineering reports, licensor input, engineering surveys, project service providers, project specialist inputs, and other reports related to the construction, or moving forward on construction of a plant, industrial gas to liquid processing plant in Trenton, North Dakota. And some of the, at first it was engineering, but it's like I worked with Nico and with Ron on working on the details of this, really. Another aspect of the letter intent is that no loan proceeds will be dispersed from the county until Saralon GTL North Dakota has signed binding land purchase agreements for the land in Trenton, or outside of Trenton, within Williams County. Another aspect of the letter intent is that the county will not disperse any loan proceeds until we also have an executed loan agreement between the county and Saralon GTL North Dakota, which I will be drafting, and then I will work with Saralon in terms of the details of it, really. Another aspect about the letter intent is that we will pay this $6 million not all the way up front, but over in regular increments over a 12-month period. So whenever we decide what the start date is for the first loan proceeds, then we'll disperse the rest of it over a 12-month period in equal amounts. Another aspect of the letter intent is that Saralon GTL North Dakota will be paying the $6 million back, and the start date for them to pay it back will be commercial operations date or 7 years after the first disbursement of the loan proceeds, whichever one is earlier, and then they'll have 24 months to pay off that $6 million. And then the other aspect of the letter intent is just saying that the $6 million loan proceeds is also subject to any other terms and conditions we agree to in a loan agreement.
Thank you, Karen. Any questions from the rest of the board? One thing I wanted to point out too, and this is more for the benefit of Commissioner Ramberg. I know that Tioga was vying for this, and there may have been some discussion about that opportunity, about this opportunity. Ultimately, we had nothing to do with the selection of the site. Obviously, Nico and Ron picked the site in the end, and we're just thrilled that they picked a site in Williams County, period. It wouldn't have mattered where it was, and it's a tremendous opportunity.
Is there any kind of is there a guarantee somehow, or, I mean, we will get the $6 million back come, not to any bad ill, but things happen and we will get our money back, right?
No.
I'll let Steve take this one.
No, there are no guarantees on this, other than to say the project has been vetted. We believe that it should be successful. With the contracts on the off-take agreements, basically that's as good as money in the bank as far as development is concerned. But no, there really are no guarantees on anything, and we have to be prepared that this money could evaporate, and that's one of the outcomes. But I believe, in my heart, that this project will be successful, and we will get that money back, which is the taxpayer dollars ultimately. But it is to be focused on the GPT. So the money that we would be lending them would come from GPT dollars, which are originated by the industry, and felt that was important, that the industry dollars are used on this project.
And also, just as a point too, that's why we inserted the the commercial operations date or 7 years, whichever is earliest, so that there's like sort of a cap in there. So if for some reason the plant is not constructed within the 7-year period, then, you know, the letter of intent and the loan agreement would say that they would have to start paying after that 7-year period is up, really, so. And my understanding too, and other discussions that I sort of understand that it's supposed to take 3 to 5 years for construction or something is what I remember or understand, so.
I believe that it's 2.5 years to get through engineering and pre-development, and then 2.5 years to construct the refinery or the GTL facility. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ron or Nico.
Mr. Chair, just repeat the question.
Is 2.5 years of pre-engineering and 2.5 years to construct for a total of 5 years is what you've kind of laid out in your plan. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's roughly correct. You know, the initial, 2.4, 2.3 years is, for the engineering, the setup, as well as, finalization of, some of the, the finer details. And then the groundbreaking, starting the final investment decision is starting, at that point, and it will take 27 months, to construct. And maybe just to add to this, that we've got at the back end of this, we've already got, the biggest chunk of this is $2.4 billion. And we've also got another $300 million on top of that, for the air separation unit. The $2.4 billion is, a green bond as a transition bond. And we've got a letter of intent for that on the table already at, interest rates of 2 to 3.5%. So, quite good. But that has also been vetted. So this is just initial funding that is in the North Dakota context are required for them to unlock some of the development funding. And, that's the reason for that. Our biggest premise was, and that is why do we, ask for this, is that is number one is a commitment into the partnership. Number two, it is also unlocking some of the development fund that is optimizing, for us some of the shareholding. And that was one of the key criteria why we've selected, North Dakota versus we've already got an agreement in place for Oklahoma as well as Louisiana. And, that was a key differentiating factor. So maybe just to want to provide that context.
Yeah, so this is a competitive opportunity, which we're very happy to be in competition for. Any additional comments, questions, thoughts? Did I miss anything, Lindsay? Karen?
No.
So does this letter of intent, I guess, on our part, basically mean that that begins your drafting of the loan agreement? Does that make us privy to the financial statements and of all this, so that we know that we're loaning money to a real business, I guess, and this is going to be the opportunity that we want?
Yep, I think I can answer that, and maybe Lindsay, you can add to that. I think the conditions are that it's, the money spent is on the project, yes. So what we can provide, and I want to just put in context, the purchase order for the land is in the order of about $12 million. So it's a lot more than, what you're providing. But that is, going to be available to you. You can have a look at that. When it's finalized, we've actually started the drafting of that already. We've had principal agreement with the Osters as well as Shadow Industries, Dwight. But that would be available if, that is a requirement. I think what I would say is that we are busy doing the non-disclosure agreement, and that will be a prerequisite before any information has been shared.
So the board choose to sign the letter of intent today. I believe the objective is also to seek for the chairman to sign a non-disclosure agreement, which would provide additional information as well as access to the risk assessment that the North Dakota Development Fund completed.
Thank you for the clarification, Lindsay. That was one thing we discussed. Lindsay and I had a call with Hannah Lang yesterday, and just there was a limited amount of information she could provide other than to say that the board voted on their largest disbursement of funds ever. They had recently raised the limit to $3 million. Sarah Lawn got the $3 million award based on the confidence level that Hannah had in her risk assessment.
And to add to that, I think we didn't appreciate that, but we've got 10 out of 10 votes for the previous, allocation from the board members.
So that was a unanimous vote in
Yes.
favor. Yeah, thank you.
And that money was from where?
The North Dakota Development Fund,
And that's a grant, is that correct? Or
that's a loan.
that's a loan too?
Yeah.
And that, is that what?
The terms are negotiated, they're different for every individual opportunity that are dispersed through the North Dakota Development Fund and likely are protected by non-disclosure.
Okay. So you didn't have to put up any collateral, anything on that either? Can you tell me that or not?
I cannot yet, but, that is something that is available after the non-disclosure is signed.
There's a lot of sensitivities wrapped up in these projects, and that's part of these opportunities, and some of this is going to be protected by those sensitivities, so.
I think maybe, I can understand, the request, the sensitivity to this, about, where we at and, what is going on. I think as part of the information that will be shared, as we've got 2.7 billion letters of intent on the table already. It's a bit of a catch-22. How do you do this? How do we do that? We've put all our funds, up to date into that, and we got into the stage that, we're going to spend in the development capital for now. Another, just below $100 million. So there's a lot of equity and partners, that is going to bring this to the table that, we're going to bring into this as well. So I think there's a whole combination of things. And I can understand you don't know us. And I think that's why we've gone through the due diligence. That's why we've gone through the due diligence with a lot of other people as well. But we're also known in the industry. This is not the first time that we've done this. I do appreciate that this is not common knowledge. And I think, the value that you're going to provide is going to be a smaller version of the commitment that we're making into buying the land. Even just as a start, we've spent, just in the region already, I think I've mentioned roughly about $100,000 already in legal fees and setup and evaluations and specialists. So I think what we can definitely state is, this is something that we're serious about. It's a start of a whole new journey, and it's going to be more than what you've ever seen in your life. I walked around looking at the Secunda facilities in South Africa. That's 14 miles in circumference for the Sasol 2 and 3. Now that is much larger than what we're anticipating here, but that's still the scale of things that, that's going to come. We doing 24,000 barrels at phase one. And with machine learning and AI, have the capability to replicate that very quickly for a phase two, as well as the potential of, fertilizer or other petrochemicals. But that's something that we would, go into. But that's, where we are, and I know we're asking for a lot of trust. It's not something that I do not appreciate. But I think in the same way that, we ask you to trust us, I think we need to do the same level of trust as well. Because are we going to get the support in the zoning? Are we going to get the support in, some of the other, areas, from the state? Whether it's the tax, whether it's the incentive packages, whether it is, a pathway, and support for the, the carbon credits and other components. So I think, the way to start something like this is, it is a leap of faith. I do understand that. It's based on trust, and it's based on how you develop further. If it doesn't work out, we're going to be out of, a lot of money, and we need to look at some other location as well. Whether we do it here or, go back to some of the other states, where we've got options, we will do this. It's going to be which location we're going to do, going down to. But I do understand that it is a leap of faith. But thank you for the trust that you've entrusted so far already.
Okay. Any additional questions?
Mr. Chair, do you maybe request us to step away?
No, you can stay here. We have a member of the public that would like to ask a question. If you'd like to ask a question, you got to come forward to the podium and state your name for the record, please.
My name is Scott Stevens. Sorry for the confusion, but this is not the same project as the biofuels plant that we were talking about a few months ago.
No.
This is another plant in the same neighborhood.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for the question. Okay. Anything else? Okay.
Nothing else? Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the letter of intent as presented and authorize the chairman to sign the letter of intent, the non-disclosure agreement, and the loan agreement that Karen's going to draft, and in coordination with you and Ron and Nico.
Okay. We have a motion. Is there a second?
I will second.
Is there any discussion?
I do want to just point out that if, in negotiating the loan agreement with Saralon folks, representatives, is if there's any kind of terms or anything like that, that I feel like this board, I would want this board, I would bring it back to the board, so, yeah.
I'll just add, Mr. Chairman, if I may, if this passes, I firmly believe that just from listening, hopefully everybody agrees with me, from listening to Ron and Nico for the last 40 minutes, that you see that how huge this project is, and the times that we got to spend with them, it was very interesting, and they have a lot of faith in this project, and I guess the last thing I want to say is that moving forward, I think it's important that this board and we all be very, very, very transparent to not only ourselves but to the public.
Of course, yeah. Great points.
Just the non-disclosure, the chairman will sign, but does that mean the rest of us don't get to see any of these numbers? Or is it a full board that signs it?
Right, right. I mean, the non-disclosure agreement will be between the county and Saralon, well, one of the Saralon companies, really. So no, it'll open it up to the Board of County Commissioners, but I mean, it's not, I mean, anything that's disclosed under the NDA would not be subject to public disclosure. But you guys would have access to it, and internally we would, but not public.
Okay, thank you.
Great question. Any other discussion?
I just want to point out that, you know, I'm excited for this. I'm excited for the community down there. My biggest concern is making sure that we as the county work towards taking care of the folks that are going to be impacted by all the development. And, you know, we've already made the request to the DOT about the 1804 Marley Crossing. We're going to have to address the street closest to Trenton as well, which is a township road. I believe we're going to have to work with them on that. But, you know, I've also thought that in the best interest of Trenton, we're probably going to have to discuss some sort of a reliever route for traffic. I mean, if there's going to be lots of development, we're going to have to do something. And, you know, our involvement with the DOT is going to have to be more involved. We're going to have to put some pressure on them to move and to do something and to do it fast. And I guess if we have to commit to personal time going to Bismarck to make sure they do it, then that's what we're going to do.
Great points, and I think it's important to point out that we've gotten zero response from the letter that we sent. Is that correct, Lindsay?
Yes, there was no response from the letter that we sent to DOT, the governor's office, our local legislators, and our local DOT offices. So if this is to pass today, this would definitely be a great arm to be able to extend and renew that request and really pursue conversations seriously.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
maybe to add, and I appreciate that comment from the commissioner, is that, you know, we've got about, 2 years to prepare for this. So we've already spoken with Mammoet, one of the, the biggest carriers in the world of heavy equipment. So there will be interaction with yourself as well as the DOT to talk about how do we route and bring the big modules and the big reactors and other equipment in. And I think, we definitely will work, with the county to do this. I can just from past experience, when we started the Secunda complex and the town, the decision was made to actually start a whole new town because the speed at which it was supposed to be growing, the local county couldn't, accommodate. So I think the impact on the community, the impact on the routing, all of that, there will be, and I appreciate the comment of transparency, that we would come in and talk about how we want to do it, how we want to plan it, get input, in the sense of making sure that the community is looked after, and how do we actually then make sure about, the traffic and other components in that. So we really want to make sure that we, we address that in a succinct fashion. And if there's any support that we can provide, with a governor, a commissioner, of commerce and other, people, more than willing, to put that on the table as well and support it.
Thank you, Nico. Okay. Any additional discussion? Okay, hearing none. Beth, roll call vote?
Corey,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Bo,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Now go make it happen.
Yeah.
We want our $6 million back.
We will.
Excellent. Okay, thank you for being so patient, everybody in the audience. We will jump right into planning and zoning.
Good morning, Commissioner Sam Miller with County Planning.
We cut off,
First on the agenda, we have,
so maybe we'll leave.
Nico, you're still. Okay, got him muted? Okay, thank you. Back to you, Sam.
okay, first on the agenda, we have LU-0131-21. Ed Rentamaki on behalf of Taylor Oxendall is requesting a variance to remain in the agricultural zoning district for a proposed 20-acre parcel. This project is going through the re-subdivision process. This parcel was proposed to be updated to rural residential with the countywide update. One of these parcels was. The one that they're creating, from what he's disclosed to me, is just going to be used for hunting purposes, and so that's why they want to keep this ag. There is no, it would be very difficult for them to build any type of structure or development on this area. In particular, a house. The terrain in this area is just very intense. So they were just planning to utilize this and carve this out for hunting purposes. One of the stipulations that we actually placed on the re-subdivision plat itself was that prior to any development, so if this newly created lot were to be developed in any way, they would have to provide physical access, physical and legal, that must be met and must meet all county standards. But because they aren't planning to build any structure at this time, we just put it as a plat note and then also a condition of this variance. The re-subdivision plat is located in your packet, and then Ed is here if you have any specific questions. The applicant could not attend the meeting this morning.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, one last thing. Planning and zoning unanimously recommended approval of this request.
Okay. Any questions for Ed? What are the wishes of the board?
I'll make a motion to approve following the recommendations of planning and zoning.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Beth, roll call vote.
Steve,
Yes.
Bo,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Corey.
Yes.
Motion passes.
So next on the agenda, I did place the LU-0108-21. This is the Transport Me Zone Change and CUP request. At the October 19th meeting, this was tabled by the Board of County Commissioners in order to reach out to the school board and to obtain more information. The applicant is present this morning, so if you have any specific questions for them, they are in the audience. I gave you the staff packet from the original request, so that has all of the detailed information, the township recommendation, and any other supplementary documents that they'd submitted. Mainly the correspondence between us, the school district, and the applicant. So if you have any questions for myself or the applicant, we'd be happy to answer those.
Any questions for the applicant from the board? Okay. What are the wishes of the board? One comment that I'll make is I think that we've gone to great lengths to try to facilitate getting another place for them to park their buses, and we've not had a lot of support.
And there, we still not have heard back from like a school board decision, right? It was just the superintendent, right?
Yeah, and I did talk to Chris Junt, and he said that this was something that, they would, if the transportation director brought it to their attention, they would discuss, but that never made it that far. So,
I don't really see how you can drop the ball this many times on, you know, on their behalf. Well, something's goofy.
Yeah. Helen, is this something that you'd like to comment on? Because I believe you talked to the superintendent, if I recall correctly. Yeah, she did. You're welcome.
Yeah, I don't have anything new. The message from the superintendent was they had space to park their buses, but not space to park additional. We're talking 12 to 13 buses. It's a fair amount of space. They didn't have it. My original letter on behalf of this board also went to Hunter Berg at the foundation because apparently there's some busing of Wilson State College as well. We didn't hear back.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Well, I think the problem we're running into here, Steve, is it's not a proper place to rezone this. I mean, and we've tried from our side to help, and sadly, we've gotten no answers. So I guess that tells us something there.
Could you come on up and then just address one question? Where are you parking right now? And please state your names for the record, please.
My name is Ruth Adekunle, and this is my husband, Adamola Adekunle. Currently, we're parking our buses. We're paying a fee to a shop owner that is within. Are they within the city limits?
Yeah.
Okay.
That it's not an ideal place to park the buses because it's not surfaced well. It's a mud pit, and it's not well organized or anything for us to be able to park our buses there continuously. Once the snow really flies, we're gonna have to find somewhere else.
Okay. What's that? Oh. Do you want to share your idea? Any other questions for the applicant?
We downsized a few since we couldn't afford to continue paying for them.
And again, just for the public's sake, could you describe the number of kids that you're currently providing busing for?
We have 213 now, and
It's rising because we currently have a waiting list that we need to. It's the cold time, so we get a higher amount of kids once it gets colder. So.
Understood.
Maybe we asked this question, was there discussion about a conditional use permit instead? Would it have to be rezoned? It probably would have to be rezoned, but is there, should we go through the conditional use permit process?
So currently, the ordinance doesn't allow for bus parking or any type of parking in residential areas. So as a conditional use, that's why we were looking for the zone change to a commercial to allow for the parking. And they also want to live out there too. So that was the conditional use permit for the caretaker's residence for them to occupy the existing dwelling out there and park their buses. So it's a bit of the mixed use.
I'm assuming you would, where you're proposing the bus parking, you'd have to install electrical and stuff for plug-ins and all that kind of stuff.
yeah. But I think there is a way to just use some extension cords instead of spending like too much to run power and stuff. So just to run an extension cord, we do that.
I'm just gonna ask, I put you in a bad spot, Dennis, but is there any place to park at County Highway? Yeah. What's that? Oh, yeah, Blacktail's a little out of the way. I think what you're seeing from the board is a recognition that we at least value what you're doing for the public. However, we have rules that we have to run by with regards to your situation with this shop house. And they don't look like they're compatible, and so I don't know.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question?
Absolutely.
I think you answered this before, but I'm going to ask it again for refresh my memory and everybody else's. But majority of your children are within the boundaries of the city of Williston. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think, Mr. Chairman, we need to address the matter at hand, which is the request for the zone change, and then I think we should probably, no matter what we do, continue to work with them in any way that we can. Because one thing that have you approached the city of Williston at all? It might be worthwhile to visit with either somebody at the Economic Development Office or City Hall to see if there's any feasible location that they could possibly help you with also. Being most of the kids are in Williston, I think that would be a benefit to everybody.
Great idea.
I have one quick question. Have you kind of figured out what the difference in cost for the kids are gonna be if you have to continue renting at the rate you are, or if you could find something more reasonable to work with the school? Because if you can send that home to 213 parents, it might make the school board take a look at it.
Well, from the stuff that we've known, the school district and they just don't want to do anything with school. With what we do.
With what we do. I don't know. I think it's kind of almost an example as to, I think it was Helen had said that the school district told her that they don't have any space. They wouldn't even talk to us. We made multiple attempts we talked to one of the board members and he talked to the superintendent, and we called, we went there, we did everything that we could to try to talk to them. And the one time I talked to Dr. Thake, he told me that he would talk to the transportation director, but never even allowed us to follow up.
Is it okay for me to ask how much you pay per month to park your buses, if you're comfortable disclosing that?
How much do we pay per month to park buses right now?
$135 per one, if I were to, per bus. But the rate is going to go up because we're going to start to put in the cord because it's getting cold, and that is a discounted price because we park like 10 there. So because where we were parking before, it was
$350 per month per bus.
Yeah,
and if we have to go back there, which if we can't find something better before the snow flies, we may be stuck with that again.
$350 per bus.
Yes.
Good Lord.
And that was when we had less buses because we were doing less at that time.
Mr. Hanson brought up Blacktail, and it seemed like it was, I mean, just in joking, but I mean, is Epping, Springbrook, we're trying to come up with maybe a possible way we could work with you for a little bit anyway, but would one of our parks work for short term, at least through the winter? There's power. But, I mean, obviously we have to address this, and then maybe,
If the majority of their kids are in Williston, that's a long haul for them to have to go out and get the
yeah.
buses, bring them in, and, but that's just my opinion, so I just think that they really should, I'm not trying to pass the buck here, but I think it would be beneficial for them to visit with somebody at the city.
The city has
I
the,
mean, we got a big, huge parking lot just sitting right kitty corner from us. that
Yeah.
the city owns.
Exactly,
I'm not sure if they're using the old Public Works facility yard. Is it full? Okay.
what are they doing with Stockman's?
No. There's, okay, it's not our decision, but we can certainly help facilitate future discussions with the city. In the meantime, I thank you for answering questions, and we will do everything we can to help you.
Thank you for your consideration for us.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Do you have any with you?
No, I just came from the.
Chairman, I will make a motion to follow planning and zoning and deny the request.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
a second.
Any discussion? It is, yeah, it's a real bummer.
Well, just as far as discussion goes, I don't enjoy doing this, but this one, it just doesn't fit, and we need to do that, and I mean, I'm willing to help, but obviously, the other end at the school, I think Commissioner Montgomery's idea of them to talk to the city is a great idea. Maybe there's something we're just missing that, Mr. Twan might have an idea too.
Maybe liaison would be a good avenue to bring this up. Okay. Okay, any additional discussion? Hearing none, Beth, roll call vote.
Bo,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Steve.
Yes, motion passes. Okay, we'll keep in contact. Thank you for what you're doing. Please keep your head up, keep your chin up. We'll stay in contact. And thank you for taking the time to come here. We know that it's a hardship for you to get away from driving and come here. Thank you. Okay, Sam.
Next on the agenda, we have the county-wide zoning map update. This is on behalf of Williams County Planning and Zoning Division. We are requesting the update of the county zoning map to match the 2015 zoning ordinance and amendments. So as you all know, I'm sure, because we have these requests come before you all the time, our current zoning map is not in complete compliance with our 2015 zoning ordinance and subdivision regulations. So in 2015, the zoning ordinance, which was the 1987 zoning ordinance, was repealed and replaced. At that time of the adoption of the new ordinance, a zoning map should have also been adopted, but it never was. So we have a lot of properties within the county currently that are in old zoning districts. So old zoning districts meaning residential, commercial, and industrial. Now, as you all know, we have urban commercial, rural commercial, light industrial, heavy industrial. We have a lot more zoning districts. So every time someone comes in to pull a building permit and they're currently located in an outdated zoning district, we have to come before you all and request a zone change for that property to a zoning district that is currently in our 2015 zoning ordinance. So in 2019, we as staff approached the Board of County Commissioners about a countywide update. We had consulted with Land Solutions. So we've been working with Joel Nelson and David de Grand Prix to assist us in the update. So we took a look at every single property in the county and found its closest equivalent zoning district that's laid out in the 2015 zoning ordinance. So that is what is currently being presented today. The most notable changes, I just want to briefly run through a few of these. So with our new update, the minimum lot size for agricultural zoning district is 40 acres. So minimum of 40 acres for a property to be located within the agricultural zoning district. Properties less than that 40 acres have been updated to rural residential. We did do a lot of digging into the original intent of each zone change. So every zone change prior to 2015, we looked at the minutes, we read the decision letters, we read the applications, and we tried our best to honor those original zone changes, even if they were never developed. So let's say I applied for a zone change to commercial back in 1990. I decided to never do anything with it. Well, I still paid the $500 and I still went to every public hearing. And so we did our best to honor that. And so we have found the closest equivalent zoning district for those types of requests. Properties within the old commercial zoning district have typically been updated to urban or rural commercial or a light industrial, just depending on what that original request was. And then also the Sauk Valley Township withdrew from participation from county planning and zoning, and that's why you see on the map Sauk Valley in the northeast corner is like colored out. We don't do zoning for them anymore. At the October 21st Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, Commissioner Schillo requested an update to a specific parcel from it was being rezoned or proposed to be rezoned as rural commercial, and she clarified that based on her historical record, and we clarified this too in our records, that it should be rural residential. And so that was really the only request that we had gotten from Planning and Zoning Commission. All of the maps were sent out to their respective townships for comments. We didn't really get anything back from them, which was positive. They received the maps, but for the most part, hopefully we did a pretty good job. So that was encouraging. And then included in your packet, I just have each zoning district description in case you're curious. And then our draft set of rules that we used while evaluating every single property. And if you have specific questions too, I can share my screen and we can kind of go through them.
Okay. Do we just need a motion ultimately, assuming there are no questions, or just a motion to approve the overall changes?
Yes, so the motion. Yep, so the motion would be to adopt the countywide zoning map update. And we already have the layer ready to go, so if you do decide to make that motion, it'll be presented out to the public ASAP.
Perfect.
Which will be super helpful, I think, for property owners, realtors, anybody who's trying to figure out more information about their property regarding zoning.
Or like big projects like oh boy. Tragedy averted. Okay. What are the wishes of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I think we owe a huge gratitude to Sam and Cameron and the staff for working diligently and hard on this. I know they put a lot of time into it in the last year and a half, so kudos to you guys. So having said that, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the countywide zoning map update as presented.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Can I change it to adopt?
Good with that, Barry? Okay. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, Beth, roll call vote.
David,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Bo.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Yay, thank you. The next two items are re-subdivisions, so these we're just looking for you to authorize the chairman to sign. So the first one is SP-0122-21. This is a re-subdivision located in Judson Township. The proposed re-subdivision would create an approximate 9-acre parcel, the remainder being 50 acres. The re-subdivision is included in your packet, so we're just, again, looking for you to authorize the chairman to sign the plat.
Okay, what are the wishes of the board?
I would make a motion to approve and have the chairman sign.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Beth, roll call vote.
Barry,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Bo,
Yes.
David.
Yes.
Motion passes.
And just for fun to point out, this is a product of the old zoning map, so this property is currently split zoned. So that's fun. So it won't be split zoned in the future. We won't do those anymore. So I just thought it was funny because it's up on the screen. Okay, next we have SP-0132-21. This is also a re-subdivision of Lot 8R and 9R Block 5 in the Berger Second Subdivision. This is a proposed re-subdivision. It's going to remove the existing lot line in order to combine lots. So this was subdivided, and then now they're looking to remove that center lot line there, correct? And so same thing, just looking for an authorization for the chairman to sign the plat.
Okay, what are the wishes of the board?
Motion to approve, authorize chairman to sign.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Beth, roll call vote.
Corey,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Bo,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks for the IT support.
Absolutely. It's the one thing I can do. Other than that, I could tell you how to restart it. Okay. So that is it. That's a wrap. Thank you very much, Sam. What's that? You need a break? Okay. 5-minute recess. Okay, that's fine. Go ahead. We're good? Go ahead. Yeah, apparently the 5 minutes are up. All right, you want us to hurry then, Beth? Darcy?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
We have two abatements for you today. They're from the same property, just for the 2020 and the 2021 tax years, filed by Frank Garris on the northwest of Section 13, Township 158, Range 103. The applicant is requesting approval for his active farm residence exemption for both years. Mr. Garris did not return his application for exemption before February 1st of either year or his gross farm income form. As they are both needed to qualify for the active farmer exemption, our office did deny his application for both years and placed his residence on the tax roll at the June 2nd, 2020 and June 1st, 2021 Boards of Equalization meetings. Mr. Garris submitted his 2020 and 21 applications on July 8th of 2021. He was advised he would have to file an abatement. North Dakota state law allows for the farm gross income to be reported from either of the 2 prior years. His income from farming activities for 2019 was 73% of his total income, and North Dakota Century Code requires a minimum of 66%. The Climax Township Board heard his application for abatement on October 18th and was approved.
What are the wishes of the board?
I would make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Beth, roll call vote?
Steve,
Yes.
Bo,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Corey.
Yes.
Motion passes.
That's all I have for you today.
Thank you. Beth, before you're up, here's your opportunity for a break if you want one. Good? All right.
Okay, we have two repurchases.
Need your mic.
We have two repurchases of tax title properties. The first one is Cody Farmer, who is the co-owner, and it is the City of Williston West Lawn Edition, lots 8 and 9. Block 7, in the total of $7,623.93.
Okay.
And then the second one is Labesco LLC and DeLong Builders, Inc., and they're out in Round Prairie Townships. Round Prairie Township Estates, Lot 3R, arrangement of Outlot 18, and Round Prairie Estates, Lot 4R, a rearrangement of Outlot 18. So we need permission for the chairman to sign the repurchase and the deed.
Motion to approve both requests, Mr. Chairman.
And authorize the chairman to sign?
Yes, sir.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Beth, roll call vote.
Bo,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Steve.
Yes, motion passes. Okay, Dennis. Oh, yeah, and one more, sorry.
We had a request from Merrick's Petroleum, and they wanted to lease some minerals that we have. And in your package, you'll see what it was. We did advertise it in the newspaper. And we got the proposal from Sam with Murex Petroleum. And he hereby offers to lease the subject minerals for $1,000 per net mineral acre and a 1/6 royalty and a 3-year term. The only difference that we've gotten in the past is normally we get 20% royalty, but it's up to you guys. Because I think things might be a little bit different nowadays. I don't know.
Karen?
I just wanted to point out, though, that we were required to, at the prior board meeting, you had actually authorized advertising these, because under state law, in order to lease our oil and gas mineral rights for the county to do that, we have to advertise it unless they agree to a non-development agreement, a non-development clause, but they wouldn't agree to that. So that's why we had to advertise these. And this was really the only bid that we received after publishing notice of the public sale of these minerals, so. And also, just so you know, hang on a second. Yeah, the last time we advertised some minerals, we received a bid from Oasis that we accepted in 2017, and that was at a 1/8 royalty. So, and these guys are offering a 6th royalty. So, and I don't remember what the bonus was on the other one though. So,
Good. What are the wishes of the board?
yeah,
Bo, do you want to ask your question?
Do we know with 100% certainty that these are our minerals? They're county-owned?
what we will be doing in the oil and gas lease is striking the warranty title. We don't warrant title for our oil and gas. So, no, there's no 100% guarantee, but I did see deed where somebody did deed mineral rights to the county back in, I can't remember when it was, so. So, but we're not warranting title, we're striking that, so.
The legal description is the southeast quarter and the east half of the southwest quarter of section 10, 157.95.
Oh, right there. I got you.
Yeah, yeah,
I think that's in, is it Hazel Township, was it?
clear as mud.
How many acres is it? Does it say how many acres it is, Beth?
I don't, well, there's a difference because when Miramax actually first came, approached us about, they only wanted to lease 0.5 mineral acres, really. However, the mineral deed to the county encompassed a little bit of a bigger area than they actually were leasing. So I don't know if they're just going to want to lease the original 0.5 acres or if we're going to want to lease the whole thing. So I'll have to, yeah, but at least we advertised the whole part, really, so.
Call for the question here. Let's get this show on the road. What are the wishes of the board?
I would make a motion to approve the mineral lease and have the chairman sign.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Just actually, Beth, I think usually signs the oil lease, so I
Yeah,
just ask.
Beth can sign that.
Yeah, I'd appreciate
Give it
that,
a-
you know, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Who seconded? Thank you.
Okay, any additional discussion? Hearing none, Beth, roll call vote?
David,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Bo.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you. Okay. And Dennis, you didn't have anything? Okay. So, anything else from you, Karen?
Okay, as you recall, at your first meeting in October, you included in, when you set the minimum sales price for the tax foreclosure property, you also agreed to include 500,000, whoops, $500 per property to cover the cost associated with selling the property, which we're allowed to do under state law. However, after some questions came up about which cost to include and how to track it and stuff, it was discussed at the finance committee meeting, the last finance committee meeting last week or 2 weeks ago. And Keith had presented sort of a breakdown of some of the costs he'd already expended on some of the properties. And it was decided by the finance committee, just because the costs were minimal, to actually forego charging any costs for associated with selling the property for $500 and just basically return the $500 to people that we had collected it from already. So I guess.
What do you want the motion to say?
I would like the board to move that we forego the $500 cost for associated with, oh my gosh, a motion to forego the $500 cost associated with selling the property and just return the $500 to the $500 we've already collected to the people.
So moved.
Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Thought that was gonna die.
Yeah.
For lack of a second. Was on the verge. This was discussed at length at the finance committee in an effort to for the least administrative effort, it was not worth charging the $500 in the end, but.
It was a pain.
Yeah, any additional discussion? Hearing none, Beth, roll call vote?
Barry,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Bo,
Yes.
David.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Redistricting board update.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. So the Williams County Redistricting Board has met several times over the past couple of weeks in an effort to redistrict the county commission districts based on the 2020 census. And they have now reached a pivotal point, which is the public hearing. So the public hearing will be on November 15th at 5:30 in this room. And that's when the public will have the opportunity to provide their comment on 2 different alternative plans that the board has come up with. As of this afternoon, we will make those maps available through our website. Folks will also be able to provide virtual comment through the website until November 10th at 5 p.m. Otherwise, they can attend in person on the 15th. Primarily, the biggest differences are within the city of Williston and with District 1. Each of the 5 commercial districts. Each of the 5 commission districts now need to have about 8,200 people each in them, which is about 2,000 people different than the current districts, with the exception of District 1, which ended up with over 14,000 people after this last census. So the difference between the 2 alternative plans provides different options for how the city of Williston could be divvied up. As well as for District 2, there is one option where it would actually extend into the Trenton area and kind of changing the southern boundary of District 1.
Lindsay, as long as we're describing it, is there an opportunity for Raphael to pull the maps up? That way the commission can see it and the public that's here?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Raphael can do anything.
Yes, he is the man. He is our hero. He's map man. So that must be the current.
So these are the current county commission districts. District 1 is blue on the west. District 5 is purple on the east. District 2 is green. District 3 is brown, and District 4 is orange. So then proposed option A is an option where to be able to gain the necessary population for District 2 on the southern portion of the city of Williston. District 2 then extends west down into Trenton Township, and the southern half below Highway 2 of Judson Township. One of the things that the county has to follow with regards to redistricting is primarily following township boundaries. So that's also something we try to be diligent about when deriving the commission districts, also having to resort to using some of the major highways as we went. And then with District 5, you'll actually see this in both of the proposed options. District 5 needed to gain about 2,000 people, and even with the growth that was seen in Ray and Tioga, but really to get the population to meet the threshold that was needed for each district, we were able to shore up the township boundary lines on Blue Ridge, Winter, and Athens townships, Tyrone Township, and then the northern half of Missouri Ridge. Otherwise, if they didn't pick up those 2, District 5 would actually become a giant mega commissioner district with all of the other cities in it. And that wasn't an option that the board had gone with. And then the other option is proposed option B. And so you'll see there's a little bit of a difference there, mostly within the city of Williston again. District 2 just aligns with the Williston Township boundary, and then just a little bit different in how the center part of the city is divided. And one of the other considerations throughout this process was the master plan for the Williston Square area, which is where the old airport property is. There's intended residential zoning throughout that area, plus also commercial, and so trying not to split up that property with the density of the area was one of the challenges that the board encountered. And so both of these plans try to accommodate that the best as possible. So again, this afternoon, these maps will be made available online through our website for review. Paper copies can be asked upon request, but it's easiest just based on how this actually all works to look at it online. And we'll accept again that virtual comment until November 10th, and then the public hearing is in this room on November 15th at 5:30. And any questions about the process or anything?
It's been way more intense than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be pretty straightforward, but there was a lot of discussion and thought that went into all of this, so it's much appreciated by staff and by the board.
It was pretty difficult. Everyone decided to sort of live in the same area. So population density wise was a little difficult sometimes in divvying it up, but these are the proposed options. This is not either saying that one has to be selected. There can definitely be changes and alterations after the hearing process. The final plan does have to be done by the end of the year, and this also does influence precincts for voting. So that's why we work in tandem with the auditor's office to be able to come up with those. And then I have one request for the board, something that the redistricting board had decided upon last night is to compensate the non-elected, non-employee members of the board, which is Roger Gunlickson, who's representing the cities, and Bruce Grabseth, who is representing the townships, cities other than the city of Williston. And to compensate them for both the cost of the meeting and mileage. We've met 5 times already. We have at least a 6th meeting on board with we've met 4 times already with at least 2 more, so a total of 6. So it'd be a little bit south of $2,000. I'd previously talked with our finance director, although I didn't talk with her this morning. But we had previously discussed this topic, and there would be a fund that we could use to pay for that, but would need some authorization from the board to do that. And just a point of clarification, this was a little bit of a different horse because the board is authorized by Century Code as opposed to Century Code by way of the county commission, and the way it's constructed is a little bit different. So that's why we kind of left it to a board decision if they wanted to be compensated, and then it would be your decision to expend those funds.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we compensate was it 2 board members?
Yes.
And follow the guidelines that we use for reimbursing our other non-elected, non-appointed, or non-employed board members.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, second by Corey. Any discussion? Hearing none, Beth, roll call vote.
Bo,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Steve.
Yes, motion passes.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, Helen?
All right, position report first. We have 2 positions that I need your approval for coming out of the sheriff's office. We have a patrol officer who has transferred to BCI, and so staying in our community, continuing to do the work, but we're gonna need to fill the job. And then the sheriff has been carrying an extra corrections officer position, and they did some interviews to fill a different role earlier this week and would like to actually offer 2 people jobs. So we're looking for permission on both of those positions, please.
Okay, what are the wishes of the board? Motion to approve. Okay, motion by David,
Second.
second by Bo. Any discussion? Hearing none, Beth, roll call vote.
David,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes,
Bo.
Yes.
motion passes.
All right, Park Board, you previously appointed Katie Ogden to fill an open position on the Park Board, but then she had to withdraw her name due to some work-life balance challenges. And so the Park Board did rediscuss this issue and sent forward to you Brad Hinchin as the person that they would recommend to be appointed to the board. So we're looking for that motion from this board. The term, which is written on the sheet for Beth, runs through 12/15 of 2023.
Motion to appoint Brad Hinchin.
With the term as presented,
Yeah.
is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Beth, roll call vote.
David,
Yes.
Harry,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Bo.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, the Century Code requires that each county appoint a coroner. It's a 5-year term. Dr. Frank McCoy has been our coroner since January 1st, 1985. He's served in that role and he's really enjoyed it. He is retiring from medical practice, and so he did provide Verlin and I notice earlier in the year that he would be retiring from his post as coroner as well. He's done a significant amount of work to try and recruit another medical professional because, of course, that's ideal. And frankly, there's no one that we can find in the world of medicine here who wants to give up the time that it takes. Obviously, a coroner gets called out when there is a death that's going to need investigation. They have to be available to go out to the scene, and then there's, of course, work to be done and reports to be filed. So we've done a fair amount of work. Commissioner Montgomery has met with the sheriff and I on a number of occasions or talked with us anyway, to work through the issues, and here's what we've come up with. And the decision I'm going to ask you to make today did need to be approved by the state medical examiner. The Century Code lays out all of the rules for this. If we choose someone who's not a medical professional, then the state medical examiner's office has to approve the plan, and that's been done. So the way that this works in a lot of other counties, not just in North Dakota, but in other states, is that if a medical professional is not doing this work, the next folks up for consideration are funeral directors. They have some of the medical training and, of course, are likely out on scene anyway. So we've had a number of meetings, and today I would like to ask that you appoint Kurt Beatty, who is the funeral director at Fulkerson's right now, to finish out Dr. McCoy's term, which ends on 12/31 of 2022. We have yet to finalize negotiations with Kurt, and we are including in those discussions Seth Coughlin from the Coughlin-Everson Funeral Home about how we will compensate maybe differently than we've compensated Dr. McCoy. Again, the sheriff, David Montgomery, and I are working through that process with them. It might just be a little bit of a different structure than we were paying Dr. McCoy.
Could you describe why you're talking to Seth as well?
Yeah, we think that these are 5-year, this is by the Century Code, this is a 5-year term, but we understand that it may not be reasonable for a funeral director to do this work for 5 straight years. And so we may see within these terms some resignations and some appointments of the other funeral director, just because sometimes the work can be a burden. So we're just trying to lay the groundwork to be able to handle this going forward. If you remember, we also have a coroner or a morgue relationship with both of the funeral homes in our county. And so it all kind of ties together. They alternate years in doing the morgue work. And again, it's because it can become a burden. The North Dakota Century Code requires a 5-year term for coroner.
Okay. Do we have anything to approve at this point? If
You have to appoint Kurt as the coroner
Okay.
to fill out Dr. McCoy's term.
even though you're still negotiating the terms of said appointment?
He's doing the work,
Oh,
so we need him
okay.
appointed.
If we don't appoint, then we'll appoint you.
No, I don't want that job. Nobody wants me to have that job.
Yep, Dr. McCoy is retiring.
Yeah.
So we need to make the change.
Okay, I was confused because you were describing a negotiation process.
Yeah,
in
I'm
which-
just telling you that in the future, I may come to you and say, we're paying this differently,
Okay,
or I may not. You may see in the bills that it's somehow handled differently. We're just working through those details.
gotcha. Okay.
I
What
think it's
wishes of the
important,
board?
maybe Helen, to point out too, that the contract that we had with Dr. McCoy is since 1985, so expect some changes.
Yeah, when I read through the minutes, the old minutes, in fact, the amount that we're budgeting for the coroner,
Is that how you pronounce it? Bade?
I think Beatty, but
B-A-A-D-E. How's that? to fill out the existing term of Dr. McCoy as Coney Coroner.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Beth, roll call vote.
Barry,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Bo,
Yes.
David.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, then I bring to you an item that we discussed at the Finance Committee meeting. I will tell you that it originated with me. I vetted it through our Finance Director, Christy, and then I took it to the Finance Committee. So we've seen that a number of political subdivisions are using some of their federal COVID reimbursement money used to offset the impacts of COVID, to help offset maybe salary or benefit implications of reduced budgets in 2020 and 2021. So I am proposing, and I vetted this through the Finance Director and the Finance Committee, and everyone seemed in agreement. I did email you last night with all of the details if you wanted to get through all the dollars and cents of it. But we're looking to offset what was a salary freeze at Williams County in 2021 with a small portion of the CARES money that we received from the federal government. So just to lay out the background, when we budgeted for 2021, it was in the middle of 2020. Revenue was down. We were really in the early stages of the pandemic, and we were gravely concerned about revenue. And so we did not approve any salary adjustments in terms in cost of living adjustment or merit increases in 2021. So most employees at Williams County right now are earning exactly the same as they were earning in January of 2020. And I will point out that at Williams County, we by and large continued to come to work. There wasn't any significant remote working going on at Williams County through the pandemic. So we were all here doing our jobs, spread out, wearing masks, but doing our jobs. So I'm looking for input from the board. We think that this is a suitable way to reward the folks or continue to fairly compensate the folks that stayed on and worked through the pandemic. It's a one-time payment that I'm proposing. It's not a change to salary. It'd be a one-time, what I would call a COVID adjustment. The total cost would be, depends on if you count the zone or not. The zone folks are going to have their, how they're compensated is driven by some Department of Human Services rules, and so it might be slightly different, but I think the maximum amount would be about $440,000. We looked at a 2% when we were budgeting for 21. We looked at a 2% increase with all of the benefit implications of that, and it was just over 600,000. So this gives you a little frame of reference. It's not, it doesn't hit that mark of a 2% with the implications of a benefit, but it's something. If the board wanted to approve this adjustment, I would suggest that we add it to the payroll in the week of Thanksgiving. We already have that scheduled. We have the payroll scheduled. And I think it would be a nice way to remind our employees just how thankful we are for the work they did, for sticking with us, for working the year without any change in compensation.
Helen, that 600,000 you were talking about, that was just for 1 year, right?
That was just the 1 year impact, yep.
But that would have been continuous for many years.
Right, there's always when we change the full compensation, then yes, of course, it carries forward year to year.
And this would be just a 400, one time, one shot.
Correct, and again, it gets paid
And
out.
CARES money.
Correct, yeah, exactly.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to move this along, I guess, and have discussion if there be any, that we go ahead and approve this request as presented from Helen.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Can I add one more thing for the record? We are going to prorate this adjustment for folks that have started throughout 2021. We're looking as an offset for the frozen wages in 21, so folks that worked only part of the year wouldn't get the maximum. So the max would be $1,500 and go down from there.
Perfect. it's, in my opinion, the least we can do, and a great thanks to the employees for the hard work and dedication of coming to work every day during the pandemic, so. Any other discussion?
Who seconded it?
Okay. Hearing no more discussion, Beth, roll call vote.
Steve,
Yes.
Bo,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Corey.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you. And with that, we can adjourn. And Beth, you're free. Yeah.